currently in a state of disarray, a state of quagmire, a state where his repair, his potential of survival is very tiny. The malaria that have been disturbing the Labour Party has transcended and metamorphosed to the PDP.
I think the first thing that is important for me to say is that if there be any validation to the rumor that the present president as a politician is a master strategist, I think it is in ensuring that of all the people in the PDP that he could pull out and appoint, it was Governor Showunmi. It's like taking the key man risk of our organization and putting us in a very, very difficult situation.
What is new is this. This malaria that the Labour Party has been sustaining finally wants to consume the PDP. PDP is currently in a state of disarray, a state of quagmire, a state where his repair and his potential of survival is very tiny.
The crisis rocking Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, intensified during the week. Although a cold war has raged among different caucuses of the party for some time now, tensions flared after Damagum suspended the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, and National Legal Advisor Kamaldeen Ajibade for alleged insubordination. Ologunagba retaliated by suspending Damagum and National Secretary Samuel Anyanwu for anti-party activities. The drama took a fresh turn when a federal high court in Abuja halted efforts to remove Damagum and Anyanwu until the party's 2025 National Convention. Meanwhile, PDP stakeholders are considering a caretaker committee with an emergency meeting of the party's governors forum set for Monday to address the PDP's future. A chieftain of the party, Showunmi, joins us now to dig deeper into the ensuing drama within the PDP at a time Nigerians expect a more vibrant opposition to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Showunmi. But let's go straight into it. How did we get here? When we talk about this initial friction within the PDP NWC and how it escalated to the current split, we're seeing these both factions having issued suspensions against key figures in the party. What is your view on the legitimacy of these suspension notices, especially looking at the letter to the Court of Appeal concerning the 27 de factos from the Rivers State House of Assembly that has been a focal point in this conflict? And how does this case factor into the larger political crisis within the PDP, especially when we look at the intervention of the PDP Board of Trustees being able to resolve this crisis? A lot of questions there, but I really want to know, Mr. Showunmi, over to you.
Okay, good morning. You have packed in so much, so I'll try to cleverly navigate. I think the first thing that is important for me to say is that if there be any validation to the rumor that the present president as a politician is a master strategist, I think it is in ensuring that of all the people in the PDP that he could pull out and appoint, it was Governor Showunmi. It's like taking the key man risk of our organization and putting us in a very, very difficult situation. And that, from that context, you will begin to, I'll start to peel it down now. Now, let us first of all say, does the PDP NWC as constituted have the power to suspend its members? And what is the process of doing that? Yes, they have those powers. But what is the process? The process is that the NWC must be in situ. They must be in a meeting. And when they're in a meeting, whatever they want to discuss must be presented. When it is presented, people must be allowed to be aware that they're being, discussed or, if you like, tried. And then a committee must be set up. Voting must take place to determine whether the action is subject or not. And thereafter, some kind of suspension or whatever they want to do can then be pronounced. Of course, the person that has suspended has also relief. But you cannot, with all seriousness, just be called to have been suspended by your peers, and then your reaction will be go to the media and say you have suspended the people that suspended you. That is madness. I'm saying that the NWC that suspended the National Publicity Secretary and the National Legal Advisor were within the privileges and the right granted them to do so. That the National Publicity Secretary then, as if he's waking up from a drunken sleep, now say he has suspended the chairman and the secretary. There is no provision for our constitution for that. For them to be able to say they want to suspend the national chairman and secretary, they will first of all have to be in an NWC meeting. They will have to bring a vote of no confidence on them. It will have to be captured within their ESCO minutes, and we will have to have the record of same. It's like saying you are a member of the board of trustees of a bank, and then you go to a board meeting and maybe the MD and co, they suspend maybe the legal advisor of the bank. And then he steps out of the meeting, having been excused, and then says, oh, I've also suspended the... No. Democracy may be an all-comers game. It also has some rigid rules that must be followed. So, gentlemen of the media, members of the fourth realm of the state, the only suspension that is for now valid is the suspension of the publicity secretary, Debo Ologunagba, and that of the legal advisor. The other one is just head hearing and annoyances that can make a situation look worse than it really is. That one, settled. On the issue of, what happened in Rivers? Remember I said, if there be anything that I can now accept that Bola Tinubu is the master strategist, is in picking out Governor Nyesom Wike, former Governor Nyesom Wike, and appointing him. Why is that so? This present NWC that we have, the Iyoshe Ayu NWC, was an NWC that was put together by the team of people that included Governor Wike, Seyi Makinde, and all of those men that were riding then. And because they put that NWC together, significant interest as to how that NWC came about has ownership. What I mean by that is that when you want to put an NWC together in the PDP, we divide the things into two, north and south. Then we go back into the north and the south and then divide it into zones. Then we go back into the zone and then couple the states in twos and then divide it into. Obviously, under that kind of circumstances, governors having larger than life influence over the party now contribute materials and persons into that place. So, by removing Governor Nyesom Wike and giving him an appointment in the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has created a major crisis for the ruling party. Why is it a crisis? One, Governor Wike was smart enough to write everybody that needs to be given a letter that have been invited to come and serve. Those who should have given him the terms of acceptance of that service did not do so. They gave him a blank check to go and serve. Is there precedent to that? Yes. As former governor, because he was also a governor, Attorney General of the country, Bola Ige, was an AD man who went to serve in an Obasanjo government. But the characters then are different. Obasanjo is not the type of person who will allow his Attorney General to be destabilizing the state or the country. I don't know why that is being allowed now. But the truth be that we are now at a situation where what must PDP now do? So that will explain why it's possible for the situation in Rivers to be the way they are. And it's possible for the NWC, in fairness to them, to be careful not to overheat the situation in Rivers. I am told that one of the reasons that became a tipping point for the Debo suspension was that the NWC, in a meeting of all of them, had taken a position that, look, now that Rivers is this way, we will not offer any official comment relative to their local government election because the PDP as a political party suddenly is not even participating. Now, they allege and they claim that Debo Ologunagba, on his own, without referring to the committee of whole or even taking approvals, then issued a meeting to say, a release to say, Rivers people should go and participate in an election that PDP itself was not participating. Anyway, I'm not interested in the rightness or wrongness of the action. I'm only here to say that it's childish for you to be suspended and then to overheat the party by saying you can also have a power to suspend others. And then it becomes even more laughable when high-ranking members of the party who should say, no, this is not the right way, now begin to genuflex and begin to act as though they are polarizing the party even more. Well, Unfortunately, I believe that now that the governor of Bauchi State, the chairman of the Governors Forum, has now decided that, okay, things are now getting dangerously out of hand. It's time for them to come together. It's time for them to figure out what will now be a consensus agreement. Because like I always say to them, we can argue on decision. We can even argue on how we got to those decisions. What we must not do is pretend as if we can have action without consensus. Let me repeat that again. We can argue on how we got to a decision. We can argue to the rightness or otherwise of that decision. But for us to make progress, we must have what you call consensus of action. That means everything has gone helter-skelter. We must come together now and say, okay, now that we're here, what is the consensus action steps to get us out of this mess? Because Nigerians are really not interested in the bickering of the PDP at the national level. And to our credit, we don't have that kind of problems at the state and at the local government. So our prayer now is that all members of the National Caucus get your act together so that you don't destabilize us at the states and at the local government. And luckily, we have just gone through a lot of state congresses, and I think we're beginning to step out of that now. So I believe that, yes, we'll solve this problem, and we'll solve it soon.
All right, Mr. Showunmi, let me take it off from there, and I like the fact that you provided a lot of...
Steve?
Yes, that's Steve. Good morning. Good morning. This is
Good morning,
Steve.
my man.
Good to have you on this beautiful Sunday morning.
I can't see you. That's why I asked.
I can see you.
Yeah.
All right. My point is, I was going to ask initially before you provided, enough context to the question by Shaitan. What I was going to ask originally was that isn't this a proxy war? Essentially between the Atiku camp and then the Wike camp at the G5 or the G7.
You are too brilliant, Steve. Steve, you are too brilliant. That's why I love you. You are too brilliant. Now let me go to that. You see, before we got to the primaries of the presidential election in 2023, I had taken a closer look at what was the potentials of our challenges at that time. When then Governor Wike was campaigning and trying to be president, and of course those of us that were pushing Atiku were also campaigning. I had gone first to Atiku to tell him, Your Excellency, if yourself and Governor Wike are not careful, you will destroy this party. And he was shocked. I said, I'll tell you why. As for you, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, the number of times you've been contesting the election has provided such a large gravitas that no one can measure your reach anymore. But you must concede that Governor Wike, who is able to manage governors at the level he's managing them and invest at the level he's investing, is no longer someone we can afford to handle this way. And then to make it sure that I was not speaking to one side, I also went to Governor Wike, my only one time I ever met him. And I said to him, my dear Governor Wike, if you guys don't take it easy with yourself, between yourself and Atiku Abubakar, you're going to destroy this party. And I relayed the same thing. So that's why I said you are very brilliant. What I see happening with us is that we have accepted the idea of a tit for tat. Oh, in 2015, the Atiku and Bukola Saraki and co, they left the party and destroyed the party and did Jonathan. Therefore, in 2023, they didn't treat Wike. When are we going to draw the line and say, organization go through challenges? But one of the critical components that allows organization to relax and form is that they must have a broad view on reconciliation. And what ought to be the broad view on reconciliation? They need to draw the line of the hate. You can't continually insist that, oh, he offended me, I'll do this, he offended me, I'll do that. And then you're going to make the party constantly be like rats that are, tapping on a hot plate. So, Steve, you are right. And I think that as we proceed, my hope is that when we get to the neck...
Mr. Showunmi, you didn't let me land on
all right, Steve, forgive me.
Yeah, because the whole idea is that when you say that Ashwaju was brilliant, was smart, was the master strategist in picking Wike, you know, of course, that he won't pick Wike alone. And I was going to add the fact that when you went to meet Oshoko, former Governor Fayose, was that a skit or was it genuine? Yeah. Or was it genuine? Because you know that where Wike is, it is likely that you will find Oshoko there, and it is unlikely that Governor Fayose will work against Tinubu. And so the question that people are asking is that if Wike is with him...
Was it a joke?
Hold on. If Wike is with him, Daniel Bwala is back to him, Reno Omokri is with him, the question will be, when will you, Showunmi, not be picked by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Okay, all right. Okay, go. Thank you very much for this question. Thank you very, very much, Steve. I love you, Now, you see, I had to go to Ayodele Fauci, a former governor of Ekiti State. One, because I know how he can be very strong and very persuasive, almost like a prophet. He sat down at a reception for Similae and offered some words which seemed a little bit grand. But today we have seen that those words were not exactly as grand as that. They were almost prophetic. So what I had gone to do with Ayo was that I had called him to tell him I needed him to let us meet. When I got to site, they said he was at the site. So I told my boss, let me go to Ayo. Yeah, I might get there and it might become a very convoluting, conversation. But I'm only going there to speak to him, to beg him that let us not allow a party that has given all of them so much to die. And I wanted to, inspire him that, look, what is the advantage of a one-party state in a country that is as large and as, the way we have multiple ethnicity, all of the issues around religion, that we can't, even if everybody were to empty into APC, I was trying to tell him that they will only end up imploding that party. Because one party will not be able to contain all of your interests, all of your contents. And I was pushing Ayo, and I was convincing Ayo, and I was begging Ayo. I even laid down, I held his leg, that Ayo, please try. What was I hoping? I was hoping that something would shift in him. I was hoping that when he begins to reflect on the things I was saying to him, I was hoping that he then begins to do a bit of a pushback. And I was aware of some of the things Ayo was doing privately. Let me share one. I knew that Ayo was working very hard to provide a relationship with the governor of Osun State now and the powers that be, so that they don't just go into the place and create a mess. So I saw that, okay, here's Ayo on one side. People accuse him of what they accuse him of in Ekiti, which he tells me, Shegun, the governor is just so polite, so it gives me difficulty to be angry with him like that. And my people are disrespecting me, they don't want to see me. So I take that as a problem. But on the other hand, I knew that Ayo was working very hard to support and help the Osun State governor, Adeleke. So I just said, okay, maybe Ayo is still able to be convinced and we can pull him back. And I couldn't have done it better than that. And it was not a skit. And I was happy. I just wanted the world to know that, look, at the end of the day, if a 26, 27-year-old institution created by Nigerians themselves, in multi-party democracy that has survived this, if it dies, if its verdict is to die, at least I can write, I, Otunba Segun Showunmi, did everything humanly possible until it became clear to me that it's going to die, and then obviously I will not die in that party with them. And on the question of whether I would join Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, look, he knows me, I know him, and we have extremely mutual respect for ourselves and our intellect. I have started looking at the policies he's running and some of the ideas he's pushing and the difficulty he's having in marketing those ideas. I can give you 4 that I think, okay, I get it. This guy is up to something. The first is his taxation policy. If you haven't found anybody, Zach is a great asset. He has the ability to explain complex ideas in a way that you get it. And I see what they're trying to do there, especially if they succeed in ensuring that MDA holding money and wasting money and creating time and not paying taxes is removed. And then we can then have a relationship between those who are paying contract, which is the Ministry of Finance, and the contractors. That is super brilliant. So I've been scared of taking myself out of the PDP and adding my own capacity and my competence to an already strong party. I promise you the PDP will die. They won't be able to compete. Even as it is now, we are struggling to even get them to focus on the important things. They'll go for an election. They won't plan themselves well. They won't put in all the energy. They'll come back and shout until somebody has rigged them. We're going to do Ondo in a few days. I can tell you because I know. Most people have not put anything there by way of support, except the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde. All the other 12, 13 governors, they are pretending as if they don't have an election in Ondo. when they get to Undona and all of the APC machinery moves in there, all the support people raise money and go and win an election, what would they do? They come and start shouting, they've been rigged. So my issue with them, my issue with the party is that I've been trying to get the party to focus on the important things and leave all this conversation of ESCO, this and that, all over away from the plate. Because anyway, the Nigerian people expect us to provide opposition work.
Right. You have expressed your worry that the PDP may die. And, you know, obviously the crisis in River State remains a test to our democracy at this moment. You've said that, you know, Wike was smart enough to tender a letter seeking permission to go and serve in the APC or in an APC government. And in doing so, he followed, you know, proper procedure. But your members have been accusing the FCT minister of anti-party activities. What is the PDP doing about Wike? When will the PDP expel Wike? I mean, is he still a member of your party? We are seeing your members trying to force a leadership without change. And also, we understand that, you know, PDP governors will meet tomorrow to consider, you know, many options of resolution in your, within your party. What sort of resolutions would you like to see as we wrap?
Okay, let me first of all deal with the Wike issue. I've always said, I've been trying to say to people that, look, PDP has found itself relative to Nyesom Wike the same way Pontius Pilate has found himself relative to Jesus. If the mob wants the heads of Jesus, there was nothing Pontius could do. When they wanted the head of John the Baptist, there was nothing the world could do. It seems to me that the combined efforts of the Nigerian public, the PDP members themselves, the media and all persons of goodwill, there is a consensus that Governor Nyesom Wike has to be punished or be seen to be punished or expelled or whatever. That's what I sense from what we hear everywhere we go. And unfortunately, to do that, you have to understand the business of the procedure of decisions that you can take that can stand. If a man has a court order telling you you can't touch him, of course, you can be angry and say, I've touched him. But what does that really do? You're going to go back to court and start having the issue of you had no right to touch him. Any decision you take from that day will be ultra various, will be wrong. PDP is on a very delicate sliding ice skate where the sun is up. In 5 minutes or 10 minutes, the sun will thaw up the whole ice and the skate will be of no use. In the case of Rivers, in my opinion, is the case of, have we created a sympathy movement for the victim in such a way that we did not bother to ask ourselves, what did the victim do that they are beating him? Back to the Similaye Fubara Wike issue. I've quarreled with the fact that how did you guys go and create an arrangement that produces a Similaye Fubara as governor through Wike, where Wike was practically fighting everybody to install him? Why didn't that relationship get managed, number one? And if you are going to fight, why would you start a fight before you get a great number of the assembly members to be on your side? Are you the first, the second, the third? I can give you 10 people. Take the case of Ogun. Bikole Amosu, my brother, was governor underneath a structure that belonged totally to Aremo Shoba. Assembly field, processes field, rep field, senate field, only governorship given to him. But he cleverly managed himself and took enough time to make sure that the assembly was on his side. Some of the senators were on his side. Some of the rep were on his side before he started bearing his front. Right. Now, in this case now, we're in a situation where the Court of Appeal has said, if we're not even careful, they need to go and represent the budget. Do you know what that really means potentially if they get to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court agrees with the Court of Appeal? That is the challenge of managing people's interests when they don't think through their action before they take it. So yes, if Wike is the one that is being blamed, he has to carry the blame of his excesses. But at the end of the day, what is the process and the procedure for doing it? PDP is not like APC that has a president that can use extra gravitas of state or even the persuasive patronage of state to get people to behave. People will be doing like they have the right to do as they want, because except for your party constitution, the next thing you must take into consideration is the law.
All right. Osoba Showunmi, I mean, we would have loved to have you, for a longer time. Brilliant and articulate as always. But
Yes, very tiny. Various members of PDP have expressed their dissatisfaction with the activities of the acting national chairman that has led to his suspension.
The internal wrangling in the People's Democratic Party is taking new dimension, with the latest being the appointment of Yayari Mohammed as acting national chairman. His appointment follows the suspension of Iliya Damagum as the acting national chairman. According to a statement signed by the suspended National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, the National Working Committee approved the appointment of Yayari Mohammed in acting capacity. The appointment is with immediate effect. The NWC called on all organs, leaders, critical stakeholders, and members of the party to remain focused, especially as the NWC begins arrangements to hold the party's National Executive Committee meeting. Now, Thursday, the National Working Committee of the PDP at its 593rd meeting directed the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, and National Legal Advisor, Kamadin Adeyemi Ajibade, to step aside. This was contained in a statement signed by the National Director of Publicity, Chinwe Onorom. The NWC also constituted a committee to be chaired by the Deputy National Chairman, South, Taofik Arakbaja, to investigate the issues raised against the officers in compliance with the provisions of the constitution of the party. Following the NWC's decision, it directed their respective deputies to assume office in acting capacity with effect from today, the 11th of October, pending the conclusion of investigation by the committee. Now, in a swift move, the suspended National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, in a statement, announced the suspension of the acting national chairman, Iliya Damagum, and the National Secretary, Senator Samuel Anyanwu. The NWC said this stemmed from a series of complaints raised against them, which includes anti-party activity against the acting national chairman and gross violation of the provisions of the PDP constitution leveled against the national secretary. The two officials were also suspended from all meetings, activities, and programs of the NWC, pending the conclusion of investigation by the National Disciplinary Committee. The Nigerian military have thrown a challenge at a former agitator in the Niger Delta, Asari Dokubo, making reference to a comment by Mr. Dokubo threatening to bring down a helicopter he claimed hovered over his house during his local government election in Rivers State. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward, says the former agitator should dare its troops in the front lines. Tifon Essien reports.
Nigerian military troops have continued the offensive, targeting high-profile terrorists and bandit commanders across the country. They have taken out more than 300 terror group leaders in recent months.
Our operations have destroyed a substantial part of the combat capabilities and capacity of the terrorists, particularly their leadership. Importantly, we are increasingly making significant strides and progress through our operations across the country. For instance, another notorious terrorist leader was eliminated on the battlefield during the week. He was known as May Hijabi.
The military authorities acknowledge the enormity of the security challenges and efforts required.
We fully understand the importance of momentum in warfare. We must sustain the momentum, and it is for this reason we take the fight to the terrorists.
I have the capacity to contain them.
Recent comments by former Niger Delta agitator Asari Dokubo, who threatened to bring down a military helicopter allegedly hovering over his premises during the local government election in Rivers State, also caught the attention of the military.
He doesn't have that capability, he's just blabbing. But I will allow the security forces that are responsible for handling such cases to take up the matter. Ours is come on the battlefield and we take you out. You should come on the battlefield.
The military insists a whole of society approach is required to tackle the security challenges in the country.
However, some staunch members of the PDP have said the party has made so many men powerful and worthy such that the party can no longer contain their wherewithal, their effrontery, and their capacity is becoming too hot for the PDP to contain.